Hello, this is Gavin Patterson from Studio 1790, and in today's video, I'm going to go through 3 things that I wish I knew when I first started working on Cubase. So these are the 3 biggest ones that would have been game-changing for me had I known them earlier. So I'm going to share that with you today. So we'll go straight into Cubase. We'll talk about it. So number 1, I think this is a pretty big one, and it's to do with, if you go up to Media, open Pool window. So this is the pool, the audio pool. I'm not sure what it's called in other DAWs, but in Cubase it's called the pool. And what that is the collection of files that you're going to use for your project. So that's like your audio files. So if I click here on the audio tab, there's all my audio here, and it's got a trash folder as well, so that's like deleted tracks and stuff, deleted takes, but it's still saved on the hard drive. So even though it's deleted off the project and it's in the trash, it's still on your hard drive, which is quite cool, because if you get like a vocalist who's on like take 5 and they've just done take 5 and they think that was pretty good, but I think take 3 was better, but you've deleted it. It might be deleted off the project, but it's actually still in the hard drive. You can actually go in here and go to your trash, find take 5, and then drag it back and then into the audio folder and then into the project. So that's pretty cool. That's your pool. But the specific thing I wanted to talk about with regards to pool, something that I wish I'd known earlier, is where it saves. So when you start a new project, you may or may not get this little window thing. So if you look down the bottom here, it has these 2 options: use default location, prompt for project location. When I first got Cubase in 2012, I think it was 2012, it was by default set to this, use default location. And it, as you can see here, it's D drive, documents, Cubase projects. And I didn't really know much about Cubase. I didn't know much about DAW, so I just left it on that and just, you would create a new project, create empty. And then I would record lots of things, lots of projects, multiple things. And I started to get errors and problems. I was opening up folders, opening up projects, and I was getting corrupted files. I was getting like the vocal take from another song coming into another project. I was getting a guitar DI from one song, a guitar and another guitar DI on the same take from another song, all coming into a different song. And I was like, why is this happening? It's because if you look down here at the default setting, project folder, untitled, and the default location is documents, Cubase projects. If you don't change that, that's what it's set to default. What it means is that everything you record in Cubase, if you select that little option, everything you record will be saved to an untitled folder. And there is no way of you knowing which song belongs to which untitled folder. And if you keep running that for a year and you do a lot of projects, you could have over 100 or even more untitled folders, and you have no way of knowing what folder belongs to which project or song. So this happened to me, and it took me probably about a year to discover this, and to the point where I had, I think it was 150 untitled folders. And it was literally untitled, untitled 1, untitled 2, untitled 3, all the way up to untitled 150. And what I had to do was painstakingly go through each folder, listen to the stems, because the stems were named. The stems inside each folder were named. So it was like guitar DI, snare top, kick drum, all that. That was all named inside, but the actual folders were untitled. I had to go through and listen to these stems and try and figure out which song it was. So I had to name all of the untitled folders. It took me hours and hours to figure all that out. So what's the workaround? The workaround is clicking this button here, prompt for project location, and then create empty. And you'll get this window here. This window basically is asking you, where would you like your audio to be saved? So what I have on my hard drive is I have a Cubase folder on my hard drive. So on my G drive, Cubase G, I have these two folders, Cubase audio files and Cubase projects. So when you're choosing where to save your audio, I put it in my Cubase audio files. All my audio files that I've ever recorded are in that one, and the actual project file, so that's when you click save in Cubase, they get saved here in a separate place. So if I click projects just now, here's all my artists. That's all these folders are artists, and inside each of these folders are the different songs from those artists. If I go to my Cubase audio files, here are the names of individual songs that I have recorded. So if I just click, here's one here, audio, there's nothing in it because you can't see it, but there is loads of files in this, but it's because I'm clicking save just now, you won't be able to see them. But each individual song folder for the audio is here. So what you do is make your Cubase audio files folder, and then just right click, new folder, and then you just type in new song. That's it. And select folder. And then your new project should open up. Here we go. New project. That's your new project opened up. So we're not done yet though, but let's just check if that worked. So we'll go up to media, open pool window. If you see up the top, G, Cubase audio files, new song. That means when you hit record, the audio that you record on this project will be saved into the folder that you've just selected. You have to make sure that is correct. But as you can see up the top here, it says Untitled 1, which means the project has not been saved. So press Control S on the keyboard, opens this prompt for saving. Now, we don't save Cubase projects in the same location as the audio files. I never do that. I like to keep them separate. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my Cubase folder and then open up Cubase projects, and the same thing, new folder, test, open that up, and we'll just call it test 1, save, test 1. So if I go to file, open, and I go Cubase projects, there's my test 1. And then I come back out of here, go into Cubase audio files, new song, audio. So if I open up a track here, click record a bit of audio, stop, and then I open up that folder. Test, should be test 1, our new song, audio, there it is. That audio that we just recorded is here. Save straight to that folder. Cubase projects, test 1, and the backup file as well. So this means that, for example, if you move this file, this new song, say you move it to another location, and then you open this project, this Cubase project, it will go error, can't find the audio. What you have to do is tell Cubase where the audio is, and there's like a search function. I'll show you what that looks like just now. I'll save that and close it. So let me open up the new song. So I'll call it new song 1. So I've changed the name of it. So it's not, the location hasn't changed, I've just changed the name, right? So we'll go to test and we'll open it up. There, set project folder. It doesn't know where it is, so you have to locate it. Cubase audio files. New song 1, select folder, activate. There, and it's found it. Because it knew something was wrong. It was like, last time I opened this project, this is Cubase talking here. Cubase is saying, last time I opened this, there was audio in this, and I can't find it. Tell me where it is, and then you tell it where it is, and you can join it up. So the cool thing about that is if you have an external hard drive with your projects and audio files saved on it, you can just take that anywhere. As long as you've got the folder of audio and the project file, you can teleport that anywhere you want. So you could email the audio folder and the project file, and someone can just link the two together by themselves, and it'll all just, everything will all match up perfectly because it's all perfectly named. And it's so easy to do. All you need to do is prompt for project location. Just click that so that every time you get this window, create your audio folder. So important. So that was number one, most important thing that I wish I had known when I started Cubase. The second thing that I wish I'd known years ago when working Cubase is a function called freeze. So what that does is, well, first I'll present the problem. So you're mixing away. I've got a big project open here just now, and it's got 45 audio tracks and loads of, like, the same amount of effects tracks as well. So there's a lot of processing going on. If you see my little CPU down here, it's sitting at just over half. If I press play, you'll see this jump up. Right, it's almost maxing out. This project isn't too bad. I've had other projects where it's in the red all the time, and it can be a problem. So if you look over to the left here on my inserts, I have on my on the audio tracks, I have plugins on every single channel all the time. So this can become a problem if you have too much going on and you want to save on CPU. You don't want your CPU to be locking up and you can't hear the audio. There's nothing worse when you're trying to listen to, oh, do I need more reverb or more top end? And then all you hear is because your CPU can't cope. So what is pretty cool, actually, there's been an update on Cubase recently. You could, in the past, you could only freeze one audio track at a time. Now you can do multiple in one click, which is amazing. So I'll show you 3 just now. Just that's easy. So if you're having trouble with CPU, I recommend doing this. So we'll just do these 3 for an example. We'll highlight 3, right click, freeze/unfreeze selected tracks. And then I recommend a tail size about 5 seconds, and then click OK. And what this is doing is it is essentially printing the track. So what it's doing is it's running through the whole track with the plugins engaged and recording that sound and printing it. So there's no real-time processing, meaning that your plugins will be switched off, but the sound that the plugins were making has been saved on the audio. So the upside is you're not processing anymore. It's done. The downside is you can't edit the plugins anymore. You can't edit the audio either. You can't do any fades or cuts, or you can't move anything. I'll show you in a second. That's it, done. So like I said, this snare top here, I move it across here, it snaps back. I move it down here, it doesn't work. I try a fade, nothing to do. I can't adjust the volume, go into my inserts, can't open any plugins. It's done. I think you can adjust pan and you can adjust volume. That's it. I think you can mute it as well. Yeah, solo and mute still works. And I think you can rename it as well. But anything else you can't do. I don't know if you can do EQ. EQ is not on this just now. You can EQ. You can EQ just using standard Cubase EQ. You can't use plugins though. Just turn that off. Yep. So there's upsides and downsides. So if you wanted to, for example, edit this snare top, maybe you wanted to increase the volume, what you would have to do is go back, select that track, right click, freeze, unfreeze, and then you can either keep freeze files. So the freeze file is the file that was printed. You can either keep it or delete it. Just delete it. It just saves hard drive room. Click OK. There we go. It's back to a normal track again, and then the processing has resumed. And you can open up plugins again, like that. So that's been a lifesaver for me if I've got a really process heavy song, loads of plugins, and it's driving me crazy, and I can't hear the chorus because it keeps locking up. I can just freeze all my audio tracks for a time. And because the bulk of my processing is done in the effects tracks at the bottom, the only thing that gets affected is this. So I have processing on every track channel. So I've got volume, a little bit of preamp emulation, and then I've got my console saturation summing mixer on every channel. And 9 times out of 10, if I switch all of that off, it stops crackling and I get good audio. 9 times out of 10. Sometimes I have to bounce down stuff. For example, I have to bounce down the whole song and then listen to the bounce. That's very rare. There's a couple of artists that come in that, you know, they have upwards of 150, 200 tracks in one song, and then it starts to get a little bit too much for my computer to handle. But 9 times out of 10, doing this technique of freezing tracks does the trick. So that's number 2, something that I wish I'd known earlier. Number 3. And number 3, finally, is macros and key commands. So Cubase has this thing called key commands. So you probably know what it is. Key commands is basically on your keyboard, like this one. You can assign different commands to a key on your keyboard. For example, in Cubase, if you look down here at the click, if I press C, it turns the click on and off. You'll see it down here. So that's just an example. And the cool thing about Cubase, unlike Pro Tools, as far as I'm aware, Pro Tools is set. You cannot edit key commands. Last time I heard, that could have changed. Don't know, don't quote me. But in Cubase, you can completely customize everything, all of your key commands. Every command in Cubase can be completely customized to whatever you want. And there are thousands of options. Thousands. There's so much you can do on this. Here's all the different categories. Let me just plus them all. It's just endless what you can do. So everything in Cubase has potential for assigning a key command. Now, because I use all this down here, you might not be familiar with this menu down here, these little buttons and stuff. That's for my touchscreen Raven. And these little buttons basically operate a collection of key commands. Now, you can do this yourself, but without a touchscreen if you don't have one. And Cubase offers something called macros. So I had this open just a second ago. So a macro is basically you can assign multiple key commands. For example, turn the click on, hit record, press stop, create new track. So these are like little key commands on the top here. So you have like I don't know, for example, create new track, which is, what's the key command for create new track? Let's just search it. This is a cool thing as well. It's got a search function. New track. Nope. Nope. It doesn't really matter, but you can do this with anything. So any of these commands in here, these key commands, you can drag in and create your own macro. So say you want to do something like, we'll click one, bounce in place. So here are different key commands that are up here, are listed in this one big macro, and you can assign a key to this macro that will carry out all of these instructions under one key. So I could make it like Control C or something if it wasn't copy, but anything, Shift B, and then it would do all of these things in this order. It's really cool. It's really powerful as well. I prefer the Raven because you can put time delays in between each one. If it's maybe moving too fast, maybe your computer's quite slow and it takes a while, it can sometimes stutter over itself and it can trip up. So you can bring in like a 5-second delay to account for processing time and stuff like that. But there's a couple of ones in here that I do use. For example, zoom out all. So what that does is if I'm looking at a project and I'm like right in close, looking at audio, and I'm like trying to see things, and I want to zoom out quickly, that macro is assigned to one of the buttons on the Raven. What it does is it zooms out to the full project, and I think it lowers this as well. So it's just one button. I can just zoom right back without. It just saves time. It's just little time savers every now and again. If you're clicking a button on Cubase like 10, 20, 30, 40 times a day, doing the same task over and over and over and over, you probably need to assign it to a key command to quicken that process, especially if you're doing multiple key commands all in a row. Like you're doing, Control C down, Control V, Control C down, Control V, or there's certain patterns and things that you're doing that are repeating and recurring. You can probably make a macro to do it for you with one button. So that has saved me a massive amount of time with the Raven in particular. I can automate 100 key commands in a row by pressing one button. And it saves me so much time. It used to take me like half an hour to set up a full project. Now I just use templates. And I can engage the template by pressing one button on the Raven or a macro in Cubase. And it's all possible. All this technology is possible with Cubase. Spend some time going through all of this stuff. Here's your macros here. Here's some ones that are included. Reverse reverb, there's one. So reverse reverb is you have an audio event, you flip it, you reverse it, you have reverb, you have a reverb tail coming after it, and then you flip it back again so that the reverb comes before the audio event. So it's a cool little audio technique, but it's a pain to try and do manually. Why not automate it? So you can set up a process in macros to just literally press one button and it will set up a reverse reverb for the event you choose in a second, 2 seconds, however long it takes for your computer to process it. Whereas in the past, you would have to go, oh, how do you do that again? Oh, I need to duplicate this. Oh, I need to drag this across. Oh, I need to reverse that. I need to open up a reverb, blah, 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 blah. One button does the whole thing. If you're doing things like that over and over and over, set up a macro. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and leave a comment if you have any suggestions for future videos, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit the notification bell if you want to receive updates on future videos. Thanks for watching.